So we're jumping in to the clans, educating these Desgra Inner Sphere mech warriors. And we looked at the Timberwolf, a.k.a. Mad Cat Inner Sphere designation in the previous vlog. I want to balance that out with a Fritz favorite. And we're going to kind of jump back and forth. Now, in Battletech, we have this player personality. We're going to kind of frame this question here to illustrate one of the reasons why I love this mech so much when it's combined with battle armor. This idea that we learn the rules, we have the visuals, and we develop something we like on the table. You have mechs that you like to play. For whatever reason, maybe you want to get up close and just totally destroy things. Maybe you want to do it at range. Maybe you like speed. Maybe you like a combination. And that's not to say you don't play other mechs and other configurations, but tabletop glory, tabletop manifestation tends to come out in a certain way. With the clans, I like getting up there and alpha striking. I like getting up there. Getting up there means getting into optimal range. I mean, clans generally want to stay at range. I like just like firing and crippling stuff, blowing off arms and like totally destroying stuff in one salvo. I mean, that's really what I like to illustrate the superiority of the way of life of the clans, restoring peace and prosperity to the Inner Sphere, doing that through various mechs. I also love the duality and the combination of battle armor, because when you jump into the clans, and this is not to say that you have to play battle armor with your star. This is not to say that there aren't even vehicles. I mean, there's some clan tanks that I love to play, and we're going to check those out. That's not to say that there isn't regular infantry with the clans. I tend not to play infantry which is a contrast to Inner Sphere. I'm always playing infantry. There's only so much battle value to go around. And with the clans, you're squeezed a little bit more artificially with battle value because that tech has a higher price. So I want to get battle armor on the table. I want to get mechs on the table. It doesn't leave that much left over for combined arms. But I do play it. So this mech, jumping in here with the Nova, a.k.a. Black Hawk, you look at it initially. Well, the visual of the model kind of gives it away a little bit. But this is one of those things much like the SRM carrier or the Antaros tank in the Inner Sphere. You first look at this and you're like, is that a mistake on the tech manual? Is that a mistake on the sheet? Does it really have that? Yes, it really does. And this is where the fun opens up, and this is where we're going to have that fun. 12, not 8. 6 would be great. Not 8. 12 ER medium lasers in a fast-moving medium mech. And I say medium because it keeps the battle value down. Although you look at this, the battle value is high. And in selecting this, I think the medium configuration, certainly you could have put this on a heavier mech. But then we would have more armor, and we would jack up the battle value even more. And we might utilize that battle value to mount other weapons in addition to this massive brace of 12 ER medium lasers. I think it serves perfectly in its configuration because it's just good enough to mount this weapon configuration. I think of like the Saladin Inner Sphere hovercraft, essentially, or the Karnov configuration. We're going to take an autocannon 20 and just build the bare minimum to deliver that effectively. So from the perspective of the Black Hawk, looking at it, we're going to take 12 ER medium lasers. We're going to take the ER medium lasers, develop a package around it to deliver it. And that's what we have. Now combine that with the hookup points for battle armor and ride those in. I see the two as working in tandem. And this is how I utilize this mech and why I love it so much. So as you're building out your star, as you're building out your configurations, you need to take into account, I want to play battle armor with this. I want to utilize battle armor in configuration with this. And I'm simplifying it, right? We're looking at the entry point. I'm going to run up to the target. I'm going to zap you with those lasers. I'm going to push the heat. I'm going to alpha strike you. I'm going to have battle armor following up for the mop-up. Rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. I'm going to be downing like a mecha turn. Or I'm going to be crippling a mecha turn from the perspective of, and I'm not saying you have to play with this rule. You know, the Inner Sphere rule often will play with force withdrawal. Meaning we understand that these mechs, there's a social construct to them, to being a mech warrior, a knight of the realm. You lose a mech, you're in the rank of the dispossessed. It's also in the best interest. So there's this do we say Bushido? But there's like this unwritten code that mech warriors are going to follow. And likewise, the houses of the inner sphere, they don't want to lose a mech because it's going to be a challenge to replace. And even if I can replace it, because I happen to have access to a mech factory, pumping out 20 or 30 of these a year, I'd rather keep what I have and grow what I don't have. So we see this captured in the narrative with forced withdrawal, that when it breaks through to internals or when a mech is crippled, it will begin to disengage and move towards the closest table edge. It can still fire. But it's pulling off, and generally you won't engage it. That's the forced withdrawal, the honor rules for the inner sphere. You can and possibly play this with the clans. I've always played by the rules that the clan invasion, the clans play with the honor rules, but the inner sphere realizes the desperation of the situation, unless it's early Jade Falcon invasion, where they don't really know what the heck they're facing. The inner sphere mech warriors can disengage that, can override that. So generally they will, in my opinion, fight to the death, and that's how we tend to play from that. And also, being Desgra, I'm not going to let them withdraw. I'm going to blast them off the table. If I issued the challenge, it's to the very end. So this makes it very, very interesting, where I want to mop up. I want to move on to the next. I want to destroy the target as quickly as possible. That duality of the speed and the devastation of the Nova combined with battle armor, it's just brutal. It's just absolutely ruthless. Now, here's the counter. Because again, you're like, well, Fritz, just like getting kind of depressed here. I love the inner sphere. I love these mechs. And now, more so than ever, in a good way, everyone's playing the clans. Everyone's jumping in with the clans because we've got the clan starter set. We've got the clan plastics. I have to say, I have to pause for a moment and sidebar just to frame this. I've never seen anything like this Battletech-wise. Battletech was very unique, and this is a vlog for another time, and we'll jump into this, of course, as we move further. But realizing where we are at this moment, previously Battletech had these timelines, and they advanced real time back in the day. So there was a time back in the day where you're doing your FASA Battletech thing, and you're like, clans, what the heck is this? And it's advancing real time. But you had a number of players that stayed in the inner sphere. You had some players that just naturally jumped to the clans. I was mainly inner sphere. When the clans came out back in the day, we played it for a little bit, but our gaming group was mostly, inner sphere, and this is what we played. Same with Jihad. We never really jumped into Dark Ages, although we dabbled here and there from that. But now the inner sphere, the clans, everything being fully supported, and this massive wave of not only the clan box sets, but really framing it, you're seeing people jumping into Battletech for the first time. All they know is the clans, where they're like, I'm going to play the clans. Inner sphere, like, what the heck's that? So the surface of that seems to be like, well, clans are auto win, right? Because they have the tools, they have the tech, they're generally better, they're faster, but it comes at a price. And if you're not really aware of that duality, maybe it is clan arrogance in real time. If you're not aware of the fundamentals of Battletech and how the inner sphere can leverage that, I'm not saying start with the Game of Armored Combat set. If you're feeling clans and just want to go in that direction, absolutely. And you'll have your batch call and you'll fight clan versus clan, but you're also going to fight the inner sphere. And that switch, we see that so much with the Nova as an example. The battle value, 2,660 something. I usually have this memorized, or I'm close to it. That's crazy battle value for a medium mech that has medium armor. That's absolutely crazy battle value. That comes at a price. You're going to be outnumbered. You're going to be outgunned. And on top of that, you could ride without the battle armor. You could not include battle armor. But I want to say include it because the two tend to go hand in hand. That's more of a battle value buy-in. So what you see with this, the targets that I'm going to engage, because a Lance is not going to be like, okay, here's the Cyclops here, and 8 hexes away is the Griffin, and 4 or 5 hexes away is my Valkyrie, or whatever configuration it's going to be. I'm going in to destroy a mech, but I'm moving into overlapping fields of fire of other mechs. I'm engaging a vehicle. on the way, then there's other vehicles that are there. So I'm acutely aware that I need to get in, blast, and get out, or I need to get in, destroy, issue a challenge, and then move to the next. This is dangerous in that if I really push the heat, and I am going to push the heat, I want to alpha strike with this, absolutely. What's going to happen when I'm sizzling and cooling down? Those 1 or 2 turns, or really if I push the heat, 2 turns that follow, where am I vulnerable? Because I am going to be outnumbered. This is the foil. This is the counter. This is the balance to the clans, especially with this mech. So we see the Nova as really looking and saying, you want to alpha strike. You can alpha strike like crazy. Alpha strike in Battletech. I push that up to the challenge. I push that up to the channel. I'm all about issuing those challenges as Jade Falcon. I push that up to my playlist here under the Battletech channel aspect, looking at alpha strike is where you fire everything you have. Heat, you're like, I don't care. I'll pass the shutdown. I won't blow up. Now, also, this is an energy mech. I don't have to worry about things exploding and sizzling and cooking off. So from that perspective of crippling it, I mean, yes, there's the tech of hardened in case and things like that. I don't have to worry about it cooking off, but I'm not limited to those aspects, and I really only have to worry about the shutdowns and the modifiers, the penalty modifiers of being able to hit and being able to move as I push the heat. I get past those penalty modifiers of shooting with this mech because I have so many. I have 12 of these. I have the redundancy of it. So we see where I'm even not as crippled as much with an alpha strike of pushing heat, that it just plays into it. I mean, this is a really fun and fantastic mech. I won't say it's an auto include like the Mad Cat, aka Timberwolf, depending on the designation, but it's a really, really fun mech to play. And it's one of my favorites. It's a Fritz favorite. But now what we're seeing, again, the magnification, the force multiplication of the inner sphere versus clans. Inner sphere can alpha strike. Absolutely. Clans can do it much, much better, much, much more effective, but you just have to be aware. 2,660 something battle value buy-in. And remember, this is part of a store. We've got other mechs that we have to spend our battle value. I'm going to be engaging 2 or 3 lances, or, an entire lance on my own. I need to be aware that when I cook off these lasers, and I am going to cook them off, trying to anticipate what's going to happen in definitely the next turn, but maybe the next 2 or 3 turns. And that is going to color and influence the tactics and when and where and how that I engage.